The champagne was Dom Perignon, vintage 2008. $800 a bottle. Ryan ordered it without looking at the price, the way he did everything at Oreo, the kind of place where reservation lists stretched 3 months deep. Our 7th anniversary. 8:47 p.m. Tuesday night. He checked his phone for the 14th time since we'd sat down. Ryan. I kept my voice steady. Put it away. 1 second. He typed rapidly, jaw tight. This deal is critical, Mira. You know that. I knew. I'd known for 6 months, through every missed dinner, every canceled weekend, every night. He came home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. The sommelier poured. Ryan didn't notice. His phone buzzed again, this time with a photo. His face changed, softened. The expression he used to reserve for me. I saw the screen before he could angle it away. A woman, blonde, late 20s, lying on hotel sheets I recognized. The Four Seasons signature bedding, Egyptian cotton, that particular shade of cream. The message below, missing you already. Can't wait for Singapore next week. Red heart, who is she? Ryan's hand closed over his phone. What? The blonde. In the Four Seasons bed. My voice didn't shake. Interesting. Who is she? He had the grace to pale. Then his jaw set. That stubborn look I used to find attractive. Her name is Amber. She's. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. The table between us held oysters we hadn't touched. Butter melting on warm bread. 2 glasses of champagne, bubbles still rising. Find out what? I'm leaving you. He said it like a business decision. Clean. Efficient. After Singapore. The paperwork is already drawn up. You'll be taken care of. I'm not a monster. Not a monster. Just a man telling his wife of 7 years, at their anniversary dinner, that he'd already moved on. Taken care of? I repeated. 50,000. Plus you can keep the Lexus. He reached for his champagne. That's generous, considering your salary. My salary. I made 42,000 as a museum curator. Ryan pulled in 300,000 as VP of Business Development at Klein & Associates, a mid-sized consulting firm that had grown aggressively in the last 5 years. He'd always made sure I knew the difference. When did it start? Does it matter? He checked his phone again. Look, I didn't plan this. But Amber, she gets my ambition. She's a senior analyst at Goldman. She understands the pressure, the lifestyle. You've always been more comfortable with books than people. Books. As if my master's degree in art history was a hobby. As if the museum's recent Rothko acquisition, which I'd spent 2 years negotiating, was irrelevant. I want you to sign the papers tomorrow. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Set it beside my plate. My lawyer says we can expedite this. No need to drag it out. The envelope sat there. Cream-colored. Expensive stationery. Probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. But let me take you back. 3 months earlier. That's when I made a phone call that changed everything. 3 months earlier, my father's office occupied the top floor of the Rothstein building in Midtown. 452. Views that made the city look like a circuit board. I hadn't been there in 2 years. Not since the wedding, when Dad had pulled me aside and asked if I was sure about Ryan. He's ambitious, sweetheart. But ambition without character is just greed. I defended Ryan then. Said Dad didn't understand him. Now I sat across from my father's desk, hands folded, and told him everything. The late nights. The perfume. The credit card charges at hotels. The way Ryan had started talking about me like I was a burden he'd outgrown. I need to know what I'm dealing with, I said. Before he leaves me with nothing. My father, Daniel Rothstein, founder of Rothstein Capital, one of the largest private equity firms in the country, steepled his fingers. What do you want me to do? Information. That's all. I need to know what I'm worth in his eyes. What he's planning. Dad nodded slowly. Then, picked up his phone. Margaret, get me everything on Klein & Associates. And I mean everything. Financial statements, client lists, ownership structure, debt obligations. I want it by Friday. He hung up. Looked at me with those sharp eyes that had built a billion-dollar empire. Mira, if he's going to hurt you, we hurt him back. But you need to be sure. Once we start this, there's no going back. I thought about Ryan's face when he looked at his phone. That softness I hadn't seen in years. I'm sure. The report arrived 4 days later. Leatherbound. Comprehensive. Devastating. Klein & Associates was drowning. Aggressive expansion had left them over-leveraged. 3 major clients had pulled out in the last quarter. The partners were quietly shopping the company, looking for a buyer before word got out. Ryan's stock options, which he'd bragged about for years, would be worthless in 6 months. Unless someone acquired the company, stabilized it, saved the partners from bankruptcy. Rothstein Capital could buy them, my father said quietly. We've been looking for entry into the consulting space. They're undervalued right now. Good bones, bad management. And Ryan would work for you. Indirectly. If we acquire Klein, I'll install new leadership. The current VPs would report to them. Some might be let go entirely. I looked at the report. Saw Ryan's salary, his bonuses, his stock options. All of it built on quicksand. Do it, I said. Which brings us back to now. To Oreo. To Ryan sliding divorce papers across the table like a termination notice. 50,000, I said softly. And Alexis. It's fair, Mira. You know it is. He finally met my eyes. You'll be fine. You're good at being alone. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad's assistant, Margaret. Deal closed 1 hour ago. Press release goes out at 9 p.m. Congratulations. 9 p.m. 12 minutes from now. I picked up my champagne. Took a sip. Let Ryan see me accept it. You're right, I said. I am good at being alone. His shoulders relaxed. Thank you for being reasonable. Just one question. When you go to Singapore next week, that's for the Hartwell pitch, right? The one that could save Klein's fourth quarter. His eyes narrowed. How do you know about Hartwell? I pay attention, Ryan. I always have. My phone buzzed again. This time, a news alert. Breaking. Rothstein Capital acquires Klein and Associates in surprise deal. Ryan's phone lit up simultaneously. Then again, and again. His face went white as he read. Ryan's fingers trembled as he scrolled. The phone kept buzzing. Texts, calls, news alerts stacking up like an avalanche. This is a mistake. His voice came out hoarse. This can't be. Rothstein Capital acquired Klein and Associates at 7:52 p.m. tonight. I kept my tone conversational. All cash deal. The partners accepted because they were about to default on their credit lines. You have, what, $6 million in debt coming due next quarter. How do you? He looked up. His face had gone from white to red. You did this. I didn't do anything. I'm a museum curator, remember? I make $42,000 a year. How could I possibly afford to buy a consulting firm? The table beside us glanced over. Ryan lowered his voice, leaned forward. Your father, Daniel Rothstein. He said the name like a curse. You went to your daddy. I went to an investor who saw an opportunity. Klein was undervalued. Bad management, bleeding clients, but good foundational assets. It was a smart buy. His phone rang. The screen showed Sterling, managing partner. Answer it, I said. Don't keep your boss waiting. Ryan's hand shook as he pressed accept. James, I'm at dinner. Can this? Even from across the table, I heard the yelling. Ryan's face cycled through expressions. Confusion, horror, fury, fear. He stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. I'm coming in. 20 minutes. He stopped. Listened. What do you mean, don't bother? James, I've given 7 years to this company. The line went dead. Ryan stared at his phone like it had bitten him. Sit down, I said quietly. You're making a scene. He sat. Automatically. The way people do when their world is collapsing and muscle memory is all they have left. They fired me. Sterling said new ownership is doing immediate restructuring. My position is eliminated, effective tomorrow. His voice was hollow. 7 years. I built that client portfolio from nothing. Actually, you inherited most of it from Tom Chun when he retired. And you've lost 30% of it in the last year. How do you know that? I smiled. I told you. I pay attention. His phone buzzed again. This time, a text. From Amber, presumably. His face went even paler. Let me guess, I said. She's reconsidering Singapore? He didn't answer. Analysts at Goldman are ambitious, Ryan. They don't date unemployed consultants. They date successful ones. The version of you that exists on paper, the VP, the stock options, the expense account. Not the real you. The real me, he repeated bitterly. The man who just tried to give his wife of 7 years $50,000 and Alexis, while carrying on with his mistress, while working for a company that's been circling the drain for months. I took another sip of champagne. It really was excellent. You want to know what's interesting? My father's firm doesn't usually acquire failing companies. We prefer stable investments. But I asked him to look at Klein. I provided the research that showed it was salvageable. I sat in on the due diligence meetings. Ryan's jaw went slack. Surprise. I leaned forward. While you were sending me to the museum every day like a child to daycare, I was learning private equity, spending my lunch breaks on calls with Dad's analysts, reading financial statements, understanding what made companies valuable. You? You don't know anything about business. I have an MBA, Ryan, from Wharton. Finished it online over the last 3 years. You never asked what I did during all those evenings you worked late. The truth was settling on him now, crushing him with its weight. You planned this. All of it. I planned to protect myself. You planned to betray me. I pushed the divorce papers back across the table. Here's what's actually going to happen. Klein's new leadership team starts Monday. They're cleaning house. Every VP who contributed to the company's decline is gone. That includes you. I need that job. The salary, the options are worthless. Klein was going bankrupt, remember? Your stocks would have been worth nothing. I pulled my own envelope from my purse, set it beside his plate. These are divorce papers too, but the terms are different. Community property laws mean you're entitled to half of everything acquired during our marriage. That includes half my trust fund distributions, which you never knew about because they went into an account you never checked. His hands moved toward the envelope. Don't get excited. I'm offering you the same thing you offered me. $50,000. And yes, you can keep the Lexus. It's in your name anyway. That's not. We've been married 7 years, and you've been cheating for at least 6 months. I have receipts, hotel charges, restaurant bills, plane tickets for 2 to Miami last month when you said you were at a conference in Dallas. I paused. I hired an investigator, Ryan. A good one. Everything's documented. The fight drained out of him. He looked small suddenly. Smaller than I'd ever seen him. What about my career? My reputation? Your career at Klein is over. As for your reputation, I shrugged. That depends on you. Sign these papers quietly, walk away cleanly, and maybe you land on your feet somewhere else. Fight me, drag this out, and those photos of you and Amber at the Four Seasons? They become part of the public record. Discovery is brutal in contested divorces. His phone buzzed. Another call. Another former colleague, probably. New ownership wants to meet the department heads tomorrow, I said. Except there won't be any old department heads. Everyone at VP level or above is being replaced. Dad's bringing in his own team. People who actually know how to run a consulting firm. Your dad. Jesus. Daniel Rothstein. Ryan's laugh was hollow. I called him a dinosaur at your wedding. Said private equity was old money trying to stay relevant. He remembers. He's been waiting for an opportunity to teach you about relevance. The server approached hesitantly. Is everything all right? Can I get you the check, please, I said, and box up the oysters. Separately. When she left, Ryan looked at me with something like wonder. You really did this. Took down my entire company. Ended my career. I saved your company. Rothstein Capital will stabilize Klein, bring in good leadership, restore client confidence. In 2 years, it'll be worth triple what Dad paid. Just not with me in it. Just not with you in it, I confirmed. The check arrived. Ryan reached for it automatically, then stopped. Looked at me. I don't have a job anymore. No, you don't. I placed my credit card on the tray. This one's on me. His phone lit up again. Amber, calling this time. He declined it. She's going to leave me. Probably. Women like Amber love success. You're about to become a cautionary tale. The server returned with my card and 2 boxes. I took them, stood, gathered my coat. The papers give you 2 weeks to sign. After that, my lawyer files for contested divorce, and we do this the hard way. I looked down at him. Choose wisely, Ryan. It's the last important decision you'll get to make for a while. I walked toward the door. Behind me, his phone buzzed again. And again, the sound of a life unraveling. Outside, the October air was cold and clean. My father's driver was waiting at the curb, black Mercedes, license plate that read RC1. How did it go, Miss Rothstein? Thomas held the door open. Exactly as planned. As we pulled away, I saw Ryan emerge from Oreo. Standing on the sidewalk, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing frantically. Begging Amber to answer, probably. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not regret. Just a curious emptiness where 7 years of marriage used to be. The apartment looked different when I walked in alone that night. Bigger. The way spaces do when you realize you've been making yourself small to fit someone else's vision. I poured myself real champagne. Not the Dom Perignon Ryan loved, but a bottle of crude my father had given me when I finished my MBA. I'd been saving it. Now seemed right. My phone rang at 10:47 p.m. Dad, how are you? Surprisingly okay. I curled up on the sofa. My reading sofa, the one Ryan always said didn't match the aesthetic. He tried to give me $50,000. That's what you're worth to him. Good thing you know your actual value. Thanks to you. No, sweetheart. Thanks to you. I wrote the check. You did the analysis that made it worth writing. We talked for 30 minutes. About Klein's restructuring plans, about the museum's upcoming Pollock exhibition, about nothing and everything. The way we used to when I was younger, before Ryan convinced me that talking to my father about business made me look weak. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. The Rothstein Capital shared drive had a folder labeled Klein Restructuring. I had full access now. Dad had added me to the acquisition team officially 3 weeks ago. Inside, org charts, personnel files, client portfolios. And there, buried in the VP evaluations, was Ryan's file. Performance trending downward. Client complaints increasing. Interpersonal skills lacking. Recommendation, do not retain. The evaluation was dated 6 months ago, long before Dad acquired the company. Ryan had been failing before I ever got involved. I hadn't destroyed his career. I'd just removed the safety net. 2 weeks later, the papers came back signed. No note. No phone call. Just Ryan's signature, slightly messier than usual, and a lawyer's cover letter. Mr. Hartwick has accepted the terms and wishes to expedite the dissolution. Hartwick, not even using my name anymore. I forwarded everything to my attorney, then deleted the email. That same afternoon, I had a meeting at Klein, now officially Klein Group, a Rothstein Capital company. The brass plaque outside was still being installed. The new managing director was Susan Park, formerly of McKinsey, brilliant and ruthless. She'd cleaned house exactly as promised. The entire executive suite was new faces. Mira, Susan stood when I entered her office, Ryan's old office, though she'd already redecorated. Thanks for coming in. Of course. How's the transition? Brutal. Efficient. 3 clients have already renewed contracts they were planning to drop. The staff is terrified and motivated in equal measure. She smiled. Exactly where we need them. We spent an hour reviewing the restructuring plan. New service lines, updated pricing models, a marketing overhaul. Klein had been coasting on reputation for years. Now it would have to earn it. There's something else, Susan said as I gathered my things. We found irregularities in some of the old VP accounts. Expense reports that don't quite add up. Client charges that seem creative. My stomach tightened. How irregular? Potentially fraudulent. We're investigating. She paused. Ryan Hartwick's name comes up frequently. I see. I wanted you to know before it goes anywhere. If there's legal action, it could get messy. I thought about Ryan. About Amber. About the life he'd tried to build on other people's money. Do what's right for the company, I said. I'm not involved in his choices anymore. 6 months later, the Rothko exhibit opened on a Thursday in April. 16 paintings, gathered from collections worldwide, displayed in the museum's new contemporary wing, a wing funded by a generous donation from Rothstein Capital. I stood in the center gallery, watching visitors move through the space. The lighting was perfect. I'd spent 3 months getting it right. Each painting glowed with its own internal logic, those deep reds and blacks that Rothko made luminous. It's extraordinary. My father's voice, beside me. You built something beautiful. We built it. Your foundation wrote the check. I wrote a check. You created this. He gestured at the galleries. The acquisition strategy, the installation design, the programming. This is your vision. I leaned against him slightly. Thank you. For everything. For buying a failing consulting firm. For teaching me that I didn't need Ryan to be successful. That I already was. He squeezed my shoulder. You always were, sweetheart. You just needed to believe it. My phone buzzed. A text from Susan. Hartwick's settlement finalized. He's returning $127,000 in fraudulent expenses. No jail time, but blacklisted in the industry. Thought you should know. I deleted the message. Didn't respond. Ryan was someone else's problem now. Someone else's cautionary tale. A young couple stopped in front of the centerpiece Rothko, a massive canvas, mostly crimson, with a band of black that seemed to vibrate with tension. It's just red and black, the man said. I don't get it. The woman looked longer. It's not about getting it. It's about feeling it. Look how it changes depending on where you stand. She moved closer, then back. The painting shifted with her, darker, Lighter, more urgent, more calm. You're right, he said softly. It's different now. I smiled. That was the thing about perspective. Sometimes you had to step back to see what was really there. 1 year later, the conference room at Rostein Capital was all glass and light. 23rd floor. Spring sunshine making the city glow. I stood at the head of the table, laptop open, presenting the acquisition proposal I'd spent 4 months developing. Hartwell and Morrison is undervalued. Weak Q1 earnings, leadership turmoil, but strong client relationships and good project flow. With proper management and capital infusion, we could triple their value in 18 months. The board members, Dad, Susan, 3 outside partners, studied their copies of my report. You've done thorough due diligence, one partner said. But they're in consulting. We already own Klein. Different market segments. Hartwell does international development. Klein is domestic strategy. Minimal overlap, significant synergy opportunities. And you'd lead the integration? Susan asked. I would. I've been training for this. You have a museum to run, Dad said mildly. I have an associate director who's ready to step up. And the museum's been my passion. This is my career. Silence. Then Dad smiled. All in favor of acquiring Hartwell and Morrison, with Mira Rostein as integration lead. 5 hands rose. Motion carries. Mira, congratulations. You just became Rostein Capital's youngest deal lead. After the meeting, Dad pulled me aside. You know what you're doing? No idea. But I'll figure it out. That's my girl. He hugged me. Ryan thought he was marrying down. Turns out he married the person who'd eventually surpass him in every way. He didn't marry down. He married raw. There's a difference. That evening, I walked through the museum one last time as director. My successor would start Monday. The galleries were quiet, almost empty. Just me and the art and 7 years of work that would continue without me. I stopped in front of the Rothko. The one the couple had discussed that day. Up close, it was all texture. Brushstrokes visible, layers of color built up over time. What looked simple from a distance was actually deeply complex. Like most things worth doing. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw the announcement about Hartwell. Congratulations. You've done well for yourself. Or Ryan. Reaching out after all this time. I stared at the message. Thought about responding. Then just deleted it. Some chapters ended. Some people became footnotes. I walked out of the museum into spring twilight. The city hummed with possibility. Tomorrow I'd start my new role. Led my first acquisition. Build something that was entirely mine. Tonight, I was just Mira Rothstein. Not someone's wife. Not someone's daughter. Just myself. Full and complete. Ryan had tried to make me small with his $50,000 and his pity. Instead, he'd freed me to become everything I was always capable of being. The revenge wasn't in his downfall, though that was satisfying. It was in this. I'd taken the moment he meant to break me and used it to build a life he could never touch. A life where I didn't need anyone to see my value, because I finally saw it myself. And that was worth more than any acquisition, any career, any championship champagne at anniversary dinners with men who'd never deserved me in the first place. I hailed a cab, went home to my apartment, the penthouse I'd bought with my own money, decorated with my own taste. Made myself dinner, poured myself wine, sat on my reading sofa that didn't match anything and didn't need to. And for the first time in 7 years, I felt completely, impossibly free.